It is really fantastic and perhaps unprecedented. For the first time, a very untouched corner of history of Bengal has been evolved by our Honorable Chancellor, sir. And actually, what we understand that it is not actually communal right. It is right, not it is not right. It is just some desire of the politicians who created that. It was a planned creation to achieve their goal. Not it is a rivalry between Hindus and Muslims.
Are you also looking at it from an academic perspective, like in courses or something? Would this be brought forward? Was it there?
I think that we should think about it because several parts of our earlier history is not included in our text. We should include those, and our deans and other faculty members should think about it. His Excellency, the Governor of West Bengal, and Honorable Chancellor, the University of Calcutta, Sri Ravi, my dear students, my dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor and privilege to deliver the welcome address on this specific occasion. At the very outset, on behalf of all faculties of the University of Calcutta, I extend my heartfelt and most respectful welcome to our Honorable Chancellor Sir. I am thankful to Chancellor Sir for graciously choosing our university as the venue to deliver his address on a deeply significant and untouched chapter of history of Bengal, the August 1946 Calcutta Massacre. We are deeply grateful to our Honorable Chancellor Sir for coming here today. I am also heartfully welcome my dear students. Today's program has been primarily organized for you only. My dear students, you are our present and you are our future. You should know the history of your motherland truthfully, effectively, and without bias. I also welcome heartily our all faculty members, staff, other dignitaries, well-wishers, and media persons. Finally, I welcome you all and thank you all for being a part of this very special occasion. Thank you so much.
Good evening. It gives me immense pleasure to honor Sri Ravi, the Chancellor, the Honorable Chancellor of the University of Calcutta. We are very happy that he could come and he's agreed to deliver a lecture before the academic community as well as the students of this university. We all look forward to him. Whenever a chancellor visits our campus, it gives us immense pleasure because he can chide us, he can admonish us, and at the same time, he can direct us to new paths. And obviously, we look forward to working more closely with the Chancellor's office and with the Chancellor in person. Thank you, sir. One of the most gory incidents of India's contemporary history, the sort of massacre that happened right from August 16th to August 19th, virtually there was no presence of administration. We are reminded of the very nefarious role that the Suravarti administration had, because, as is often said, it was his Raj Dharma to protect both Hindus and Muslims. But that sort of Raj Dharma was not adhered to by Suravarti. And we know about the sufferings, the insult, the mayhem, the senseless killings, and the blood which poured in the streets of Calcutta. Something which had been depicted in Kamla Hassan's film, Hey Ram. Many of you must have seen that. But there are many, many interpretations, not only in India, but also in Britain and also in the two countries of South Asia, Pakistan and Bangladesh. But when we think about 1946, it is a story of tragedy, it is a story of pain, it is a story of one-sidedness, something which has also crept into the historiography of India, that certain group of historians and social theorists tended to bypass this event. It is time that we do a much more clear, investigative sort of research that brings out the many voices that lay hidden behind this development. And I think we will definitely feel privileged when our Honorable Chancellor actually takes this microphone and gives us the much awaited oration that we are looking forward to. Thank you, sir.
May I now respectfully request Your Excellency to kindly address the Cabinet.
Professor Debasis, Registrar University of Calcutta. Professor Ravi, Dean, Faculty Council for PG Studies in Arts. Distinguished faculty members, staff of the university, and my dear young friends, students of this university. You know, we are here to commemorate something that happened in 1946. The way it happened, the consequences that it led to, and something that has been consciously erased from the memories by the governments and academicians of independent Bharat. We heard Professor Chatterjee saying something, then Professor Basu. The event was called Great Calcutta Killing. I really wonder what is great about it. When thousands of people have been massacred, is there something great? We call it great killing. Someone has presented it as communal violence. Well, so many communal violence that happens and happens. It was one of the sad things. Somebody says that perhaps it was some crazy Muslims who, in their desire for in Pakistan to separate the unleash the violence. It has been presented by the academicians, by the historians, and of course, by the governments since independence, in a way that has severely downplayed the significance of this incident. Was it a communal violence? You know why I'm raising this point is, and I'm happy that Calcutta University has thought of organizing the event and giving me an opportunity. Because I have not heard of anyone observing this day. At least I'm not aware. Now, the question is, was it just like a sad communal violence between two communities, between Hindus and Muslims, that ought to be forgotten as if this was a bad memory? Was it a mere tragic event? Friends, we know that what happened between 16th and 19th of August 1946, a year before India became independent, was a result of a call given by the then Muslim League to secure a separate country, Pakistan, by using violence. It was not a communal violence as if the two communities clashed. It was a violence perpetrated on the Hindus by Hussain Surawardi government of the time. Somebody said, they are so conditioned to speak in a roundabout way, Surawardi administration. It was Surawardi who did it. Why do you don't blame me, blame my God? If my dog bites someone, I'm not responsible for it. This is what a commission told in Sikh riot in Delhi. Don't blame the people responsible, blame the cops. It was not Surawardi administration, it was by Surawardi at the time of him, who, in response to direct action call, direct action in plain and simple language means by force, break this country, create Pakistan, a homeland for Muslims. And that force was unleashing violence against Hindus. And by some account, over 10,000 Hindus were massacred on these 4 days of violence. It just portrays as if it was a communal violence, as if Hindu and Muslim were clashed. No, there would have been some responses from the Hindus, but essentially it was a violence inflicted on the Hindus by the Muslim government of the time with an intention to break this country and create a separate homeland for Muslims called Pakistan, which they eventually succeeded in breaking the country. It was not a communal violence. It was not just a tragic incident. It was a civilizational attack on Bharat. Civilizational attack on Bharat through brutal means. Because Bharat, a civilizational country, a Rashtra, born several thousands years ago, since the time of Vedas, at least beyond 5,000 years ago, it was built or it evolved by certain philosophies, certain principles which were enunciated, which were revealed in the Vedas. Our Vedas says that the entire creation is one family. Individual, society, and creation, they are integral to each other, one family. The God created the creation and is present in every element of creation. Man Atma Sarva Bhut Atma. My being is the being of all, everyone. It's the philosophy of universal family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbaka. And that is why this civilization has prayers like Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santudiram, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyam. Nothing hatred, no hatred against anyone. Let every being. This philosophy, this darshan, this jivan drishti, the way to look at life and creation as one thing. The diversities are like variations. A flower with hundreds of petals. No two petals are alike. They are different. But are they really different? Beyond the flower, a petal has no existence. It looks different, but integrally it is one. A tree with million leaves, hundreds of branches. No two branches are alike. No two leaves are alike. And yet, beyond the tree, a leaf or a branch has no existence. It's all empty. This jivan drishti, this darshan, which was revealed in the Vedas thousands and thousands of years ago, by some estimate, they say at least more than 8,000 years ago. It created a jivan shaili, a style of living a life where you learn, you grow in learning, respecting everyone. That is how the concept which is there in Sanskrit is Atiti Devo Bhava. Let a stranger, no stranger is stranger, is a divine. So this Rashtra Bharat was born out of such a philosophy, such a jivan drishti. Bharat was not limited to a political state as it was defined in Western political philosophy. The students of political science would bear me out that a political state is defined by four entities: a defined territory, a population, it is thereof, population as a government, and government is sovereign. Bharat was not limited to this. Bharat before 1947 was not ruled entire Bharat by one king. There were numerous kings, and yet the people from Bengal had no problem in visiting Rameshwaram or Somnath or Dwarka or Puri or Badri or any other places, claiming as it was his or her own. Kashi did not belong to Kashi the rest. All the four dhams, 12 Jyotirlinga, 51 Shakti Peetham, and 108 Divyadesham did not belong to the king or queen of that place. Ganga Sagar did not belong to Bengal. It belonged to the whole Bharat. 2 years back we saw over 66 crore people went to Mahakumbh. Why? What brought them there? What brings millions of people to Ganga Sagar? What makes everyone feel that in the lifetime they must visit one of these places? It is their home. Though this jivan drishti, that all creation is a family. And these places are theirs. This sense of oneness, familyhood, parivar hope. Bharat was born as a Rashtra. Bharat was a Rashtra. And unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you can look at it, there is no equivalent of the word Rashtra in any of the European languages. Rashtra is not just a nation. Rashtra is much more. Our Rig Veda tells us, Bhadram Ikshankarisya Swavida Tato Diksha Tatmeshedunatra Tato Jatam Tato Rashtra Bana Mojasya Bhadram Ikshankarisya Rishis, lot of rishis who thought of well-being of the whole creation. Their hard work, they spread the message and created the institution and a lifestyle that brought the people, which our ancient scriptures say, Bharat. Uttaram Samudrashya, Madrashya, Dakshinam, Varshankat, Bharatam, Nama, Bharati, Sandati. North of ocean and south of Himalaya is the Vistar, is the space which is Bharat. And we are all children of Bharat. Bharat Mata, we are all children of Bharat. This Bharat was born out of the teaching that the Veda told us, Mata Bhumi, Aham Putro Prithya. Bhumi is my mother, I am the son of Prithvi. Universal faith. There is no other. Even those who do not believe in it, we cannot say that you are others. There is no they, it is only us. It was born out of this. And it was this philosophy, this given darshan, which welcomed St. Thomas, one of the apostles of Jesus. Before his other apostles went to Europe, St. Thomas came to Bharat, and he was welcomed. It was this philosophy that we built. The mosque, the oldest mosque, was built in Thrissur in Kerala in the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad. Because we believe that it's all diversity is to be celebrated. Diversity not only in appearance but also in thoughts. You can have different views. Ekam Sata Vipra Banda Varanti. Truth can be told in multiple ways. Ekant war, so Anekant war, Shad war. This great effect or some truth can have multiple perspectives. The way I look at things, you may not look the same way. That doesn't mean that your eyesight is bad and mine is good. Multiple perspectives. So it was a non-violence extended to thoughts and words, not only actions. So when you have a family, the creation is a family. Non-violence is a natural corollary of that. You cannot be violent against others. And that is how invaders came in the past. So many of them came. And many of them they succeeded. They conquered part of Bharat. They defeated some of the kings of Bharat. But they did not break Bharat. They became Bharati. There was a Bactrian king in India. Bactrian king who came towards the middle of 1st century BC. When he captured Kashmir, at the time Kashmir was populated by people who professed Buddhism. So when Menander captured took control of Kashmir, he wanted to know, he was curious. What is Buddhism? He invited the greatest scholar. His name was Nagasena. And he had dialogue. He asked questions and answered them. Responded. And at the end of it, which went on for months, Menander became a Buddhist, became Milinda. And that discussion between him and Nagasena became a very canonical text of Buddhism called Milinda. words of the discussion. On his questions of the which was answered. Kanishka came, he captured, but he became. But then something happened in 1712. Muhammad bin Qasim came and invaded Sindh. When he invaded Sindh, he destroyed and captured, he destroyed all the temples, all the Buddhist stupa and viharas, and established caliphate. It was a destruction of a civilization. Thereafter, so many Islamic invaders came. Some of them came, looted and went. Mahmud of Ghazni came. He destroyed Somnath's temple. That was not the end of it. Not only he took away the wealth, he massacred thousands and thousands of people there. Because those people were kafirs, according to them. They were not believers in the God that they believed. And thereafter, when the Islamic invaders came and captured, they destroyed countless number of temples, massacred people, converted people, but they could not break the country. They could not break the country. The civilization stood. But what happened? In August 1946, it was the beginning of demolition of a civilization, disintegration of a civilization. Because when 1930, when the Muslim League talked about creating Pakistan, and eventually they said they will have Pakistan, what was the ground? Why? Why did they want Pakistan? They said, we are a separate nation, we are not Hindus, we cannot believe, we must have a separate homeland of our own. The concept that we are different from you and we do not accept you. This tolerance, theology of intolerance, this theology carried on by political leaders of Muslim. The first, when they came the issue of representation in the provincial government, they said, no, we are different, we will have a separate representation in the council. So they constituted a separate, their representation was separate. Only Muslim will elect Muslims, nobody else. And eventually, they said, when Bharat was about to be independent, they said, we must have a separate homeland. What Islamic invaders for 600 years could not do by destroying the civilization of this country, by breaking this country, notwithstanding the fact that they destroyed countless number of places of worships and massacred countless number of people. They could not turn this land, could not kill the civilization which was born out of universal brother, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, what is called Sanatana Dharma. But then, when they said we want a separate, was there any case that Hindus destroyed any mosque? There was no question of doing during overkill, there was no question at all. It was just a one-sided assault. During British time, there was nothing of that sort. Then why is it that you said that no, we will have a separate, we are not you, we are separate nation, and we must have a separate homeland. And if you do not agree, which you are not allowing us to have, we will kill you, we will demonstrate to make your life miserable. And then they unleash the violence, and thereafter Noakhali what happened. It was a civilizational assault, a fatal civilizational assault on the idea and identity of Bharat. It was assault on the civilizational values of Bharat by breaking part of Bharat in the name of a different civilization, that we are not even reconstitute a separate nation. Friends, it was not a communal right. Presenting it as a communal right is downplay for power. Power-hungry politicians after independence, they have played it. They have played it all through. They have, and historians, so-called historians, who were either patronized by the state, by the government, or they were ideologically oriented that way, they created a false narrative. We are commemorating this day today because not that it was a tragic incident, it was happened and let us forget it. Many things have happened in the past, and we are trying to forget it. You know what all violence has happened? Unspeakable torture, unspeakable killing. But then, none of them could break Bharat. But this violence, which has started in August 1946, it broke Bharat. And it did not stop at that. Even after 1946 August, violence continued. Even after independence, the violence continued. At the time of independence, in Pakistan, there are 33% Hindus. In East Pakistan alone, there are more than 32% Hindus. Today, they are less than 8%. What happened to them? Time and again, is there any case, we have not read any case, that the Hindus of Bangladesh or East Pakistan, they demolished the mosque? Nothing. But yet anything happens, they are killed and they are chased away. If you talk about it, somebody will say you are being Sampradayik, you are being communal. This false narrative created and perpetrated by power-hungry politicians and committed civilizational forces who are hostile to the idea and identity of Bharat has been mainstreamed. This lie has been fed on the generations. Even today, 2 years back, in October 2024, there was a political change in Bangladesh. Why is it that thousands of Hindus were killed? Why is it that blacks of them had to run off for safety? Why? What was their fault? Did they cause any violence or did they initiate any violence? Did they do anything? None. Now, the forces that have been hostile to the idea and identity of Bharat, civilization of Bharat, are still operating, are in action. Now, this land of Bengal, which suffered the worst due to this violence and subsequent violence thereafter, this land, which gave the clarion call of Vande Mataram, because after all, Bharat is our mother. You know, we are born in it. It's a sacred land, sacred home. This land gave the call of Vande Mataram, the call that energized the entire nation, which energized the national freedom movement. On this very land, when we hear there are institutions and people who celebrate Jashn-e-Iqbal, the mastermind of two-nation theory, the mastermind of Pakistan. It is true that Iqbal in his younger days, he wrote Sare Jahan Se Acha Hindustan. He wrote that. But something happened, and he went on a different line. He said, no, this is a dirty land. Sildana Karu, Hindiki Napan Zamipar. This place is so dirty, it is not worth doing my sister. This man who gave the two-nation theory, who gave the intellectual heft to a theological power. He is celebrated on this land. And a chief minister goes and participates in that event and felicitates his grandson. Now this is worse than an irony of history. This is because they have succeeded. The forces hostile to the civilization of Bharat, to the idea and identity of Bharat, they have fed systematically our young people into believing that what happened in August or thereafter was just their sporadic violence. No. Unless we see the enemy in its true form, you will not be able to protect yourself. You will not be able to neutralize them. Shutru both. Unless you know who is your enemy and you understand the character of them, you will not succeed in defeating them. And the forces hostile to the civilizational idea and identity of Bharat have succeeded to an extent where they have mitigated our sense of who we are. And that's a very serious thing. Today, this land which gave Vande Mataram, on this land there are people who feel shy of calling Vande Mataram. No, they don't do that. What is this? If the ideas, the values, the foundational principles that gave rise to Bharat, which has survived for several thousand years, if those very ideas, those very values, those very principles are negated, if those very principles are denied or downplayed, afraid there is no future. Sri Aurobindo, a great rishi born on this land, this holy land of Bengal, he said, what is Bharat? He defines Bharat. He said, Bharat is a living energy. Bharat is a living energy of the spiritual conception which was conceived and revealed in the Vedas, that we are all one thing. Imagine a universal inclusiveness. There is no other based on such a principle, a spiritual principle, a culture emerged, a lifestyle emerged, and Rashtra was created. Its energy of this Rashtra is fidelity, commitment to this principle. And if my commitment is to the principle that Bharat is the Mata, and we are all her children, then we must be clear about it. That anyone who denies or who feels hesitant in saying Vande Mataram or Bharat Mata Ki Jai, beware of such forces. That because they are not just a political ideology, they represent a different values which are antithetical, which are hostile to the civilizational values of Bharat, the very foundational core values of Bharat. So, a issue must be understood, stripped of all the facade, all the corruption, all these distortions which people, the vested interest people have made it look like. This day should not go down as a merely as a violent incident, as one of the violent incidents. It was not just an incident like what Aurangzeb and others did. to our Sikh gurus. Imagine, there were a lot of intolerance, all through intolerance. Our Sikh gurus were preaching brotherhood. They were inflicted worst kind of punishment, torture. They all suffered. But at least Bharat survived. But what happened in August 1946? It broke. Civilizationally. Dhakeshwari has gone. You can't expect to go to Dhakeshwari. Those who are there, those who protected, they have to leave. This land has always been and will always be, because our civilizational values do not allow us to nurse hatred against anyone. Because the moment I start saying you and I cease to be a Sanatani, I cease to be a true Bharati. I cease to be loyal to the core values of Bharat. Because core values of Bharat doesn't tell us to separate or look somebody else. But at the same time, when a cell in the body becomes cancerous, you cannot let that cell grow because it is there, yours. You cannot. We have to be on guard against all such forces. The forces which create division, either it's a political ideology or a theological ideology. If it is of intolerance, it promotes. And anyone who promotes and talks about shirk, that anyone who compares any god to their god is committing a big sin. This is not Bharatiya value. This is not acceptable in Bharat. Bharat does not distinguish between faiths. And it is this reason that at the time of independence, the forces those who created Pakistan and East Pakistan and Bangladesh, those forces, the people at the time of independence in Bharat, there were less than 4 crore Muslims. Today there are about 20 crores. I'm not saying it can be wrong. Perfect, fine. Because this is Bharat. But in Pakistan, 33%, down to 8%. In West Pakistan, it's not even 2%. Why? This threat, the civilizational threat, and the vectors, the forces which pose threat to the civilization, we must be aware of. And it's important that our young generation, because the forces are active. Even today they are talking about Bharat ke tukde tukde hoge. People who talk about disintegrating and disconnecting the Siliguri corridor. What is this? When Kargil was happening, for 3 days our troops could not move from the east to the west because in Chicken Neck, railway track were sabotaged by people living in that very area. We have enemies within, and we have to be careful. Those who talk Bharat ke tukde ho, those who say Bharat ka mata hai to pita kaun hai, all those who talk like this, we have to be careful. Those who create conflict and class division, that look, which constitute a separate class, poor constitute a separate class, and they must fight, they must clash. Maoists, they were enemies of the nation, enemies of Bharat, because Bharat does not believe in that. Bharat is not born out of hatred. Bharat has evolved out of love, compassion, universal love, universal compassion, universal familyhood, and non-violence. Non-violence, not only in words, acts, words and thoughts also. But then, this civilization to survive, it must be strong. It cannot just be sitting idle. This philosophy will survive, this eternal Sanatana is indestructible. That doesn't mean that Bharat is indestructible. Bharat is a physical manifestation of that, a civilizational manifestation of that philosophy. This physical manifestation is vulnerable. It was vulnerable when Muhammad bin Qasim invaded Sindh and turned into caliphate. It became vulnerable when Muslims divided Pakistan through direct action, which started from this very land on the blood of over 10,000 Hindus. This has to be understood. Bharat has to be defended and protected against the enemies within. Enemies, those who are civilizational enemies. All those ideologies of intolerance, all those theologies of intolerance, all those who believe, I hear Tabligh people coming, holding meeting here and there, Tabligh is on. They keep openly saying, don't mix with Hindus, don't participate in their festival. And the people will say, no, they are crazy fellows. They are crazy. Are they just merely crazy? You cannot, the hatred has no place in civilization of Bharat. This day, what happened 80 years ago must be etched in the mind of everyone. And our young generation, especially our young friends, because I don't think we have much more from the elders. That's the lost generation. It's the young people who will bear the threat. Because the threat, if not addressed and neutralized, it will be existential in years to come. So this incident, this civilizational attack from 16th to 19th of August 1946 must be properly understood and appreciated. Only then you will be prepared to defend Bharat and the values that Bharat is stood for. We are at a time when Bharat is awakening civilizationally. It is not just science and technology. It is not just economic prosperity. It is a civilizational awakening. But in this civilizational awakening, we must be conscious of the threats to the civilization. Friends, those of you who have studied Chinese history know. Chinese, they teach their students 100th century of humiliation. It is there in school text. It is there in the college text. A century of humiliation. 1839 to 1949. 1839 with the Opium War, which the Europeans inflicted on China, to 1949. They teach every student, every Chinese student, and they don't mince words. They say a century of humiliation. Because when you know that the way you have been humiliated, you are prepared. When the Japanese invaded Nanking, and the atrocities they committed, the chapter that China has in the textbook, they call it Rape of Nanking. They don't put any soothing on the wound. They must feel the chuma. Ye hua tha is only then. And what happened on this direct action base? We must realize in all its seriousness, in all its severity, in all its pain, not body, but pain of the soul. We must, with this in mind, move forward and build this nation strong enough that no enemy would be able to look at us adversely. We have no problem with the enemies beyond. We have demonstrated what Operation Sindoor did. We don't have to worry. But we have to be extra careful enemies within. Bharat was not broken by any external force. It was broken by enemies within. And in future also, if Bharat, existential threat to Bharat comes, it will come from within. not from outside, because outside our military is capable of dealing with it. We have credible nuclear deterrent. No power, however mighty it might be, will dare to launch a serious attack on one, because now they know that the consequences will be bad, mutually assured destruction. We have established credible nuclear deterrence. We have established our capacity in a space that if anyone tries to fiddle with our space assets, we will destroy their assets. We have all the capability. What we are vulnerable today is enemies within. And we must be careful. We must be cautious, identify, isolate, and neutralize. I am sure, my young friends, countries, our Bharat is safe in your hands. Don't forget the past. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming, being part of it, and hope you carry the message. Thank you very much. One way, welcome.
Honorable Sir, thank you very much for such insightful and inspiring address. Your words have reminded us that the true purpose of remembering history is to strengthen our commitment and peace, unity, fraternity, and harmony. On behalf of University of Calcutta, I would express our deepest gratitude to Your Excellency, sir. Now I would like to request Professor Siddharth Shankar to propose the vote of thanks.
Honorable Chancellor of the University of Calcutta and Governor of West Bengal, His Excellency Sri Ravi, the Registrar University of Calcutta, Professor Debasis, Professor Ravi Basu, Dean Arts, respected teachers, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, students, members of the university community. A very good evening to all of you. It is my privilege and honor to propose the vote of thanks on this solemn and significant occasion, commemorating the August 1946 Calcutta Massacre. At the very outset, on the behalf of the University of Calcutta, I extend my deepest gratitude, respectful acknowledgement to His Excellency Sri Ravi, Honorable Governor of West Bengal and Honorable Chancellor of the University of Calcutta Alma Mater, for his gracious presence and for delivering such a thought-provoking and meaningful special lecture on this important historical occasion. Sir, your presence has added dignity with significance to this commemorative program. Your address has provided us with a valuable historical perspective and has reminded us of the importance of remembering the past with a responsibility and a commitment to peace, harmony, and human dignity. I'd also like to place a record of our sincere gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, University of Calcutta, whose presence we had very much looked forward to on this occasion. However, due to a preoccupied meeting and pressing institutional engagement, the Honorable Vice Chancellor has unfortunately been unable to be physically present with us today. His commitment to preserving the university's academic and institutional values remains greatly appreciated. My sincere thanks to Professor Debasis Das, Registrar University of Calcutta, for his valuable role in organizing this program and for extending the welcome to our Honorable Chancellor. I also express my gratitude to Professor Ravi Basu for his introductory remarks, for contributing to the academic significance of this occasion. I would like to thank Professor Ditendra Chatterjee for conducting this proceedings nicely, and extend my sincere appreciation to all the teachers, beloved officers, staff members, researchers, students, research scholars, the University of Calcutta, whose dedicated efforts have contributed to the successful organization of this important program. Let us carry forward the lesson of history and reaffirm our commitment to peace, communal harmony, human dignity, and an inclusive society. Thank you all. Jai Hind.
Right away.